This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
Today, we are talking about Dennis Smith Jr., the rumors floating around a possible trade in Dallas. Then we're going to jump into our wet boys. Shocker, James Harden's there. Then we are going to move into the Grizzlies. Are they going to be trading Marc Gasol or Mike Conley? Should they be trading Marc Gasol or Mike Conley? We'll talk about that in discussion. They met with the Grizzlies owner, so we'll see if anything should come of that. And then we'll wrap it up with some Kevin Porter Jr. talk. The USC freshman was just recently suspended indefinitely by the university and by the basketball team. So we'll see what comes of that and how it affects his draft stock. But before we do that, just check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. We were supposed to have our boy Eric on this week, but unfortunately he got sick, so we'll have to reschedule for him. But you can be like Eric or like Jake or any of the past and current patrons that we have. You can come onto a podcast, you can pick your topic, and you can tell us what you think on a podcast on a podcast topic for about 20 to 30 minutes, however you feel like ranting, or wherever the conversation takes us.
You can come on a nice old Podrick, too. We love our Podrick.
Or a Podrick. But anyways, let's jump into the Dennis Smith Jr. talk. If you're an NBA fan, you're getting the Woj bomb sent to your phone, you got notifications on, you most likely saw his tweet or at least his report from him and Tim McMahon that on Monday that the Mavericks are escalating trade talks involving Dennis Smith Jr. However, then there was talks about him being benched, and then the Mavs apparently fixing the relationship with Dennis Smith Jr. and him going to be coming back. Rick Carlisle did reach out to Dennis Smith Jr., so Dennis Smith is frustrated. Rick Carlisle wants him to be back, but it also looks like the Mavericks are looking into moving him. So first off, let's just talk about Dennis Smith Jr. and the Mavericks. What is his future with the Dallas Mavericks? Ricky, I'm going to go to you first.
I'm going to say traded, and the reason why is it's not complex, but I am on the belief that Luka and Dennis Smith cannot coexist. And Luka is obviously could be an all-star this year. I mean, his play is showing that he should be an all-star this year in my mind. And I think that you look at it and go, okay, we have our guy. They both need the ball in the same hands. I think that the Mavericks are going to choose Luka, and DSJ is going to be out of here sooner rather than later.
Do you think it's a trade this year, though? Or do you think this is something, because he is still a rookie on his rookie deal?
It'll be, if I'm looking at it, it'll be off-season, so maybe like a draft night trade, kind of like what we saw with the kind of like T-Wolves Bulls, but not that exact deal. Okay. Where we saw Zach LaVine moved, but it was draft night.
All right. Dave, what do you think about the future of Dennis Smith Jr. in Dallas?
I think they're going to try to keep him. It looked really bad to start this year to have Dennis Smith and Luka out there. It just, the flow of the offense, they didn't find that time. But I think that people wanting instant results out of this just because Luka is performing, very well really early in his career, they want to put the timeline to it. And it's like, no, the kid is 19. Let him play. Let them grow together. I think that moving him for anything other than basically a high first this year or another player on it early on his rookie contract would be a huge mistake. Obviously, the Mavs came out and were like, yeah, we're not going to move him unless we get value that we're expecting back. Mm-hmm. But no, he is in our future plans. And I think that a couple weeks back, I think you called me out because I was ripping in a little bit heavy on Colin Sexton for, his development time. And you compared his numbers very much to Dennis Smith Jr.'s rookie year. And I think that Dennis Smith's shot has improved a little bit. I think they just need to work and give them time to figure out how he works off ball better for this Mavs team. Because they're still not trying to win this year. Mm-hmm. Like, putting Dirk into a game basically means, hey, we're not trying to win this game. So, sorry, Dirk, I'm just...
Top 10 power forward.
There we go. I'm just trying to get that out of him. But no, I think that he has not outworn his welcome. He's still very happy, like clubhouse-wise. Everybody's friends with him. It's just rumors got out. He feels betrayed.
That's the biggest thing that I think that is the thing is like you brought up that they cannot like coexist together. I think is the word you said. That
coexist.
I disagree with that because they can coexist because they are good friends. You can see them like bonding together. That was one of the first things that Luka did was bond with Dennis Smith Jr. So they are friends. They are pals. They have been very good teammates. So this isn't anything.
I'm talking basketball.
No, I know. I was going to get to that. I was going to get to that. I don't think they can work together on a basketball floor though. And you'd be stupid to not pick Luka Doncic in this situation. My idea, though, is that he should be traded this year. And it's not to do with anything because, they don't want to win right now or anything like that. You have the highest value of him to trade him sooner rather than later. Because once you get to the end of that deal, then you're just trading a one-year deal. Then these teams are worried about re-signing him. Trade him now if you do have these feelings that he's not going to fit with Luka and will never fit with Luka or doesn't have the ability to. Yes, maybe he will be able to fit his game to work more off ball. I don't possibly see that happening, and I also think you're taking away his best abilities to do so. I also thought it was going to be flipped more. I thought Dennis was going to be having the ball in his hands more than Luka, and Luka would be working more off screens. Obviously, that hasn't been the case so far because Luka, talent just rises to the top. And so far, Luka's talent has rose to the top. We're talking about him in all-star categories. I think the biggest thing with Dennis Smith Jr., just for him as well, he does need to get out of Dallas. And it's not because it's a toxic relationship or anything like that. He can be frustrated, but I don't think it's anything that is actually ill-willed. I think this is something that can be worked out. So if they do not move on from him, it's something that they do think they can fix, at least on the floor-wise, because I think off the floor, it's nothing too major. This isn't like Jimmy Butler in Minnesota. This is more just something that is a tiff. It's something that they don't know how he's going to work, and maybe they are looking onto him. So I think the biggest thing for them, you need to trade him this year if you do not think he will ever be a fit with Luka Doncic, because you're just going to cash in on that trade value. This is the highest it's ever going to be, at least outside of his rookie year. Move on from him now if you do not think he's going to fit.
Here's the problem, though. What's his true value? And the reason why I say that is Kevin Pelton did a really nice article on ESPN where he kind of looked into this. And the interesting thing, he looks at top 10 picks traded since 2012. Every single year except for 2015, we've had a top 10 pick traded, where Thomas Robinson, during his first year, was traded. Anthony Bennett and Nick Stauskas, along with Noah Vonleh and Chris Dunn, all traded after year one. Buddy Hield traded during year one. The thing you look at, though, Buddy Hield, he was in the DeMarcus Cousins deal that brought DeMarcus Cousins to the Pelicans. Chris Dunn, he was in the Zach LaVine deal that brought Jimmy Butler to Minnesota. Anthony Bennett, same thing. He was in the K-Love deal. So with those, the team that was like trading DSJ would be like the Mavs are trying to get somebody. So that kind of muddies the water. But the other three, like Noah Vonleh was traded along with Gerald Henderson for Nicholas Batum. Stauskas was traded in kind of like a littler deal with littler role players. And then Thomas Robinson was traded along with Francisco Garcia and Tyler Honeycutt for Patrick Patterson, Tony Douglas, and Cole Aldridge.
The Stauskas deal, wasn't that from him going Kings to Sixers?
Yes. That was...
the one where they gave up a first-round pick?
That was the one where right now it says...
the Celtics pick?
So it was Stauskas, Carl Landry, Jason Thompson, and a future first.
Yeah.
And the rights to swap the 16 and 17.
Yeah.
And all they got were Artuis, not even going to say the last name because I'm going to butcher it.
They were moving
and
cap
another
space.
Luka. Yeah, like, but it depends on, like, what do the Mavericks want, because what's the true value then? Because then Nick Stauskas would be in his own category because that was in a cap dump deal.
Yeah.
The other ones have been 4 big stars. What should you be looking for if you're Dallas?
I think the biggest thing that you should be looking for if you're Dallas is more players that can work off ball, because the biggest thing that you have seen from Luka is his ability to get people involved. And you might look at the assist numbers and be like, well, I mean, those aren't that high, but a big thing that I think I saw the stat somewhere, and I might just be making it up. Probably I'm just making it up, but I'm pretty sure he has one of like the higher rates of assists that would be assists, but like great passes, wide open shots, and they're just completely bricked.
Yeah.
And you look at Dennis Smith Jr., you look at Harrison Barnes, like they haven't been extremely efficient. Wesley Matthews as well. I mean, they haven't been massively efficient helping him out. So, I mean, he has set up his teammates very well. And I think if you get a player that is just more elite at making those shots and making open shots, I think that's going to help him. And also, I think providing him with somebody who is similar to J.J. Barea, because when you saw those two on the floor together, they were spectacular. That was when the Mavericks offense was at the best, when you had Doncic and Barea out on the floor. And I don't know if you're going to find another player like J.J. Barea exactly, because he is pretty damn unique in his own right, just being that small and being able to go to the basket, create, penetrate, and use his body in very differing ways. He does have a very crafty skill set to score in the NBA. I don't know if you're going to be able to find something like that. But I think the biggest thing that you're just going to be trying to find is players who are still in that same age range as Dennis Smith, but maybe they're not a good fit on their team. Dennis Smith's not a good fit on this team. Just get a change of scenery, because we've seen change of scenery work for so many players before. I mean, the biggest thing is just you look at Victor Oladipo going from Oklahoma City to Indiana, turns into an all-star. I think Dennis Smith has that ability. I think he has that potential.
Yeah.
But again, I think he needs to probably get away from Dallas and be put into a spot where he can grow. I mean, I think the immediate thought that everyone has is, Frank is not doing well. Frank Ntilikina is not doing well in New York. Dennis Smith is not doing well in Dallas. Literally drafted right one after the other in that draft. Why not flip and see if they can work differently? Obviously, Frank's not an off-ball shooter in any way yet. There's the hope that he will grow into one. But what would that be like if you did make that swap? I don't think that's going to happen. But Dave, if you did make that swap, how do you like possibly Frank and Luka playing together, and then Dennis Smith over in New York?
I think it would weirdly benefit everyone involved. I think it's a no-loser trade, and I'm sure New York fans, no matter what I say, hate me for talking about New York. So just deal with it and move on.
Well, I think they're getting the better player right away. I think Frank clearly has more potential, but Dennis Smith, I think, would straight up come in and put up 15 a night.
Yeah, the biggest frustration is that they've been taking stabs at the point guard position basically through the B roll. They've got Moutier, Trey Burke, and Frank there right now, and by adding in swapping Frank for DSJ, I don't know if it's really it's not a game changer, but it would actually set them up for better success, because from watching it, Moutier can put up stats, but he's not a good player. He just decent player, bad team. Someone needs to score. He can do it. Yeah. He can facilitate a little. He can get some rebounds. But he's a backup point guard in the NBA. I see DSJ going in New York, and it works perfect. I think you're right. I think he comes in. He can make an immediate impact. I don't think he's going to help them win a ton of games this year, but
which is good for New York.
Which is good because they get to keep that pick. They keep
closer to Zion.
Exactly. So I think he will work really well with Knox, and in the future, Kristaps. I would love to see that matchup. And we all kind of joke about rewriting history. Just make that just a little tweak, because then we see Frank go back down to the Mavs, and there's a situation where you're not in the media spotlight. You're not going to be expected to do a whole lot because you have Luka there right now. So he gets to develop under one of the best coaches in the league, gets to sit there and play off ball. And I know the funny thing is with him, he actually has played really well when he point guards, or I should say his best performances are when he is asked to point guard for his team. Even though they are inconsistent, he has that, that spark is there. There's the reason why people are still not giving up hope on him. Super young kid. I love the timeline for it because he and Luka are both so young. So I think it's a win-win. The potential's there to, tag on a pick here or there to make things work out, or if, Noah Vonleh wants to get moved, I think he would be an excellent addition. I would be so happy as a Mavs fan to pick up Noah Vonleh as well as Frank on that deal, because I think Frank, like you said, is performing much worse than DSJ at this point in this season, or up to this point in their career. So,
I think the biggest thing with that would just be with Frank. I think. Or let me just go back to Dennis Smith, just real quick, because I think people love him because you saw what he was in college, and you see the athleticism, and he has an incredible highlight tape, and you always thought that he had that ability to be Russell Westbrook, right?
So we're hoping.
But I think the biggest thing that I haven't seen from Dennis Smith Jr. over the past 2 years that is concerning me is the fact that you can be a great athlete, you can be that next level athlete, But you're not going to be a great NBA player unless you have those other intangibles, those things that actually make you a great NBA player. Because you can't just be an athlete in this sport and get through. I can't tell you the great players or the all-star players who are just athletes. You need to have that extreme skill. And you look at Luka. I mean, Luka's pretty much the exact opposite. He doesn't have extreme athleticism, but he's just so skilled as a basketball player. And I think with Frank, you see those skills defensively, and that's something that is going to help him stay in the league. With Dennis Smith, if he has an injury and he's not able to keep it up, I don't know what skills are keeping him in the league. And that's the biggest concern that I have. So that may be hurting his trade value. So let's go away from the Frank stuff, because I think that's a little more of a pipe dream. What have you seen from Dennis Smith Jr. as a basketball player that you like?
See, when it comes to that, I think that we're almost a little bit too close to be talking about that, because he's a guy entering year 2.
What do you mean too close?
Like, let's not
early?
like what you said, where it was like, oh well, he might not be like out of the, like he might be out of the league. He's only entering year 2. Like,
no, I'm
of
saying,
course you want.
I'm saying like if he gets injured, and that athleticism goes down, then you get closer to him being out of the league.
Okay, I thought you were talking about like, if you can't develop more skills, then. But like you expect him to.
If he stays healthy, I don't see him being out of the league anytime soon.
For me, I almost feel like, what if it's just as simple as a change of scenery? Because like I think to Dallas, and I could be wrong, think to their last few draft picks, like before Luka. Have there been any that like scream out towards like, this is a guy that they drafted and homegrown, and this was the one? Like, I can't think of one recently that has kind of been like that. And this is our guy. I just think with Dennis Smith, it's a change of scenery. And the two teams that I immediately thought of when I saw the tweet were Phoenix and Orlando. My only problem is Phoenix. You talk about how you can't coexist. Like I said, you can't coexist with Luka because both of them need the ball in their hand. Is he going to be able to coexist with Devin Booker, who I know, like we've talked about before, Devin Booker doesn't want to play the point. He wants a true point there, but can be ball dominant in himself. Could he step in there and be like, hey, I'll be your ball dominant guy, and then that doesn't happen? And then with Orlando, I look at the contracts and I go, oh my God, Dallas would have to take on like a $10 million contract and have to give away, like, yes, they're lower contracts, but they would have to give away more players just to get somebody from Orlando.
The thing, too, is with those Orlando trades, like, immediately people are just saying, like, oh, trade Isaac, trade Bamba, or something like that.
But don't you want them?
Huh?
Like, doesn't Orlando fans want them,
that
though?
they would move those guys.
Can I just go back to the draft? Orlando had the opportunity to take Dennis Smith Jr. They didn't. Why would they trade Jonathan Isaac for Dennis Smith Jr.? They didn't want him when they had the opportunity to take him. Why would they trade him right now?
It's like Smith for Frank 2.0.
That's the point, is Frank will, we're bringing up that question.
The Smith, but the thing that I think that is now is just, like, that's just strict change of scenery. Is like, they both needed a point guard. Oh, we screwed up. Let's flop. I mean, like, this is the Orlando Magic going in thinking they had the opportunity to draft Jonathan Isaac. I don't think we've seen anything, that should mean that he shouldn't have been taken there. And then you're looking at it and it's like, yes, Orlando needs a point guard right now, but you are basing this team off the wingspan, the versatility defensively that you're going to have in the future with Jonathan Isaac and Mo Bamba. Yeah. Why would you go away from that? That's my biggest thing. I think the Frank Dennis thing is just a little bit of like, oh, we screwed up. Like, literally, there's one behind the other. Let's just flip them, see what happens. The Isaac thing, though, it's just like that was. I think they picked 6th, and then Dallas didn't go till 9. I think, and then was New York at 10, or were they at 8? So I mean, I just don't see the reason why, and Dallas didn't have the opportunity to take Frank. So that's another thing too. Is like, so maybe they did still were at least intrigued by it.
I know I was mocking that Frank would have gone to Dallas because I thought Mark Cuban had made some comments pre-draft about him. So,
but I also thought that Dennis Smith Jr. with his athleticism, with his highlight ability, him in the Garden would have been phenomenal.
Yeah,
you were right. It's the Magic had 6, they took Isaac. Knicks had 8, took Frank, and then 9, the Mavericks took Dennis Smith.
And who at 7 was it?
7 was Markkinen. Yeah. That was the T-Wolves deal.
So worth.
I'm so smart. 1 was Fultz, 2 was Lonzo, 3 was Jason Tatum, 4 was Josh Jackson, oof. 5 was De'Aaron Fox, 6 was Jonathan Isaac. I still remember that draft.
Who's number 10?
It was a year ago. Are you seriously?
It was 2 years ago. 10?
He's on Portland.
Yeah.
It was Zach Collins.
Zach Collins.
And then 11, I'm not going to go through all
I say this
I
is the
could
game
probably
we
do
play
it.
during dinner usually.
11 is Dave's favorite
It
player.
was Miles Bridges.
No.
Was it?
No, think about
favorite
what
player.
boys?
Oh, Malik Monk.
Yeah, the moist
the
one
moist-
himself.
Bridges was last year.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got the right team.
Yeah.
Josh Jackson though,
Horrible.
not great, but Suns
Let me throw out
looking
this.
for a point guard.
It's
Josh
funny.
Jackson available.
It's funny you say
be
that.
moved.
My trade machine I have up, Dennis Smith and Brunson for Josh Jackson.
Fuck no.
Hell no.
Hell no.
How about
Josh Jackson has been much worse than Dennis
about
Smith Jr.
Josh
Fuck
Jackson
to the no.
Eli Okubo, a second for Dennis Smith and Brokoff.
Why is Brokaroff on the team? Because isn't he like a 28-year-old rookie?
He old, but his contract is dirt cheap.
So
Okubo, Josh Jackson, and a 2.
Jackson in a second?
Yep.
I don't hate that. But also, like...
Because you still got, 2 more years after this year for Josh Jackson. You've got the entirety of Eli Okubo's contract, which the thing we loved about him was he was a scoring guard from the outside.
Yeah.
Happy to take shots. He can pass. He can facilitate.
He's pretty athletic, too.
I like what
And,
that
like-
could give them because if they're not 100% attached to Harrison Barnes moving forward, his contract still obviously has next year, but then, they could move on if Josh Jackson can nail down a shot a little bit more consistently. It gives them another option.
My biggest thing with that is just Josh Jackson has never shown the ability to hit from the outside in the NBA.
Not consistently.
And we see that, like, in college, he wasn't extremely consistent. I think he was a 37% shooter from 3.
But low volume, yeah.
Back in college. And then also you look at his actual shot, and it was broken.
Yeah.
He did not have a correct shooting form back in college. He hit some big shots every now and then, but he was not known as like a dead-eye point shooter.
We had him pegged as a slasher and a defensive guy, and that's fine. But, the second half of last year, he was putting up, I think it was 17-4 and just under 2, which was pretty good. I mean, I think that was this is the guy we drafted for. That's why he's going to live up. And then this year, obviously, he's struggled to produce in the starting lineup. Obviously, they have a very crowded wing position, and TJ Warren's scoring is just can't pass that up. So they moved Jackson to the bench, and honestly, he's found a better role coming off the bench for them, and he is able to get volume shots because their starting lineup is so shot volume heavy. So when he comes into the game, he can try to generate some offense. He's had a couple good nights here and there. So I'm not done with him. He's still a good defensive player at times. So I think that defensively he could be a guy no matter what. Offensively, hit or miss, but worst case scenario, he is a wing prospect for your future, and you get that point guard prospect that I think a lot of us were very high on. Needs a lot of development time, but that's why you have Jalen Brunson, who, I know he hurt.
Well,
he's hurt, but this way you've got a pair of young point guards to move forward with.
And real quick, too, with the Josh Jackson stuff, he's had 12 games as a starter, 34 as a bench player, 11 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3.3 assists as a starter, 9 points, 3.8 rebounds, and then 1.9 assists as a reserve. But the biggest thing is the percentages: 34% from the field as a starter, 15% from 3 as a starter, 44% from the field as a bench player, 39% from 3 as a starter, and then also offensive rating of 74 as a starter and 93 as a bench player. So clearly there is an improvement there.
The only thing I'm thinking of is, and I want to make maybe one change to your deal.
Sure.
If you're Dallas, do you want to get Okubo and trade for a backup point guard that you're going to develop, or is Dallas going to be in the mindset of hey, you know what? Because the salaries are similar, let's see if we can get a Crawford into the deal. His contract's up at the end of the year. Let's go after free agents or a free agent to play with Luka instead of Okubo.
What is that $1.5 million going to do for you?
Could mean anything.
I don't think
know.
it's. I would rather. I'm more intrigued by Okubo because you see what Dallas Mavericks have been able to do.
But I'm saying, what would Dallas like better? That's what I'm saying.
I was getting into that.
Would Dallas want to go with free agency?
That's what I'm saying. Is what does that 1.5 do for your team? So I don't think it's going to be that crazy. And you look at Okubo. And what the Dallas Mavericks have been able to do historically with foreign point guards, I was going to say foreign guards, point guards, like Rodrigo's Bobois, and then you also see JJ Barea and his ability as well. What they've been able to do under Rick Carlisle in this system has been absolutely fantastic. These guys have been, phenomenal players. Obviously, Bobois been out of the league for a while now, but when he was there, he had 3 stretches before he got injured. I think 3 straight years where he was near an all-star level player.
And they also had that guy like Steve Nash for a bit.
Yeah, but he didn't really develop under Carlisle.
I know.
He was a Maverick, but he wasn't also Carlisle. Also, I don't think
he played 24 through 29 there. So he got better as he aged, though, 100%.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like Carlisle didn't come in until I think like 2007.
Yeah,
and he was already in Phoenix
out,
by that point. But my thing too is with like I know what was his name? It's also Steve Nash is Canadian. He's not really foreign.
Yeah,
I'm saying
enough.
more like
I'm
more seeing European.
Foreign point guards on the Mavs.
Would you say Andrew Wiggins is foreign?
Yes.
I'm saying more like foreign. Like
his nickname is Maple Jordan.
Yeah, but Andrew Wiggins played college basketball. I wouldn't say
he's from Canada.
He's
not a U.S. national.
He's in the what's it called?
He's a college.
He's
North
in the
college
prospect. He's in the continent.
North American.
Anyways, I just think that if I was the Dallas Mavericks, I just talked about getting a smaller point guard who's crafty offensively, who has great handles, which I've seen from Okubo. He can shoot from the outside. I think he has that ability to develop a driving game too. I think that would be a perfect point guard that you could play with Luka Doncic. So I would love that deal if that was the deal proposed by the Suns. Now I don't know if they're going to give up to it because that's 2 young players for 1 young player.
And that's
usually
why
those don't balance out too well.
Also, you look at it, and this can play either way. Like, yeah, I'll take Okubo because I'll have enough anyways. After this year, the only players under contract if they trade Dennis Smith are Luka, Jalen Brunson. You maybe get Harrison Barnes and Dwight Powell because of player ops.
Yeah,
and
Harrison
then,
most likely will opt in.
Burkhoff. Like, that's it. Those are the only guys right now. Oh, and Ray Spalding are the only ones under contract for next year.
And that's what to sign with them.
Well, that's one thing that's huge. Maybe Luka does affect that. Maybe if Dirk comes back, and obviously you don't want him for his play, but Dirk as a presence would be interesting.
Put him as a player coach. Put him
even if Dirk actually retires, that's $5 million that's off the books that you can
I would rather
use.
he retires.
But is he got a 2-year deal?
No, he's up at the end of the year.
That's what I'm saying. You could always re-sign him.
Yeah,
so you can give him like $1 million. I'm not saying it's Dirk. Dirk's going to retire when Dirk wants to.
He can be a coach. He can be a front office guy. He can be a goodwill person. I don't care what he does. He's not playing basketball.
But free agency wise, if Dirk is in the locker room, I think that is a plus. If Luka's in that locker room, that's definitely a plus. I feel like. And then also you talk about, why would you need that cap space then? Because clearly they have that cap space. You have 24, I think, coming off from DeAndre Jordan. Berea's only got like 1.5 or something like that. Then Wes Math is 18, I think.
It also depends. What if they look at it and go, hey, we're going to have Jalen Brunson. He's already a young guy. Let's get a cheap veteran that we can have under him so we're not so young at that point guard position next to Luka.
Well, I don't think it's a problem being young at that point guard position. And I think, right now, if they don't get rid of Dennis Smith Jr., they're still going to be young at that point guard position.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's incredibly, too dangerous not to have veterans at that position because obviously Barea is going to be huge. We don't know when he's going to come back. I don't think they're going to get rid of him.
He's up at the end of the year. They could resign him.
They're going to resign him.
Yeah,
he's not a guy
he
that's
is friendly to the organization.
Yeah.
He'll be back. But, we want to float foreign point guards. Ricky Rubio. Just toss that there.
And I think that could be a guy who does go over. You look at just the history of what he's played on. He hasn't played on big markets. I don't know if Ricky Rubio is a big market guy exactly. Dallas, I know, is a large market in the realm of the USA, but at least for basketball, it's not a huge market. So I don't think he'd be naturally totally turned off by Dallas. So that would be an interesting one. But then again, does that mean Luka plays off ball more? Because Ricky Rubio doesn't play off ball.
He has with Donovan Mitchell. That's a nice thing is these past 2 years he's gotten used to it and he's played better. So I think that I know I'm just tossing in a Euro just to toss a Euro because that was your argument, but I think that they're in a position where they could go and blow a bunch of money in free agency, but I just don't know who would sign with them by choice. The one intriguing thing, and I'm going to hate myself for saying it out loud, it's like a player like Boogie could absolutely sign there.
Yeah.
I could see Mark Cuban being like,
that's better than what I was going to do, and I was going to troll.
This guy's going to bring attention to my team. He's a great big. He can pass from the low post. I can see him work pick and roll, pick and pop with Luka, like two big bodies. Oh,
Hey, Ricky,
Would you
no,
would you then
Ricky,
re-sign DeAndre
pause,
Jordan?
pause.
No.
No, you would not.
No.
He's been horrible. The shell of himself. Can you real quick just go back to when we were doing the free agency signings and where DeMarcus Cousins should sign, and then just pull up where I say he should sign with the Dallas Mavericks, and then Dave being like, "Oh, you shouldn't give a max contract to DeMarcus Cousins because of his injury. You don't know how he's going to bounce back." And I'm saying someone should pay him a max contract, and it clearly
Well, we've
was.
seen
People
him,
were
though.
willing
We've seen
to.
him
He's
in
like,
one
"No, I'm going to
game
go take a
already."
ring."
no,
So.
they had no offers for a max contract. That's what he said.
But it wasn't max, but it was like they
He
offered him
said
over 20
there
mil.
was no max contracts, so I'm going to get a ring.
But it was over 20 mil.
It might have been just over 20
So
mil.
I think now nobody has a problem offering a max contract to
We
DeMarcus
watched him play
Cousins.
for 15 minutes, and we're like, that man needs to get paid.
Damn good. So just go back to that and just say, like a year ago when I said he should sign with the Dallas Mavericks, because it's true. It's goddamn true that he
There's a
should.
good reason he
It
didn't
was
this year.
a 2-year deal, $9 million each. That's what I have here.
So there you go.
I think here from the Mavericks, because this is the article that says how Cousins fell through the cracks.
So yeah,
past
they're only
Mavericks
offering
to
him.
Warriors.
18 mil?
Yeah. Sorry,
Idiots.
I win. He gets to go get a ring. And
He's
then he
gonna
can
get a
go
ring.
get a giant paycheck from potentially Dallas
Then-
and play with Luka.
Well-
You think if they gave him like 15 mil a year, he would have signed?
No.
Like
If it was, I guess it depends.
Like a
Because if it was
one-on-one?
two, yeah, I think a 1-on-1 would have done it. Because that way, if he played well for the second half of this year, he could go get paid, and if not, he could just lean back on that.
Could you have
second year,
could
15
you
mil?
imagine having a $9 million difference between DeAndre Jordan and DeMarcus Cousins? And have insane. Where were we gonna go? What?
Oh, I was going to troll. I was going to say, what if Kyrie and Durant come to town? Wide open cap space.
No, you're done.
That closed out the
We're talking about Dennis
of the
Smith
show.
Jr. Let's bring this back. I just don't know how Dennis is going to work with this team, and I think that personally, I think you should move on from him.
Do you think
I
off ball he's a no-go?
I have not seen it from him. I don't think he's a shooter. I don't think he's going to be ever a player that takes over 6 threes a game. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy who's going to be working in that type of system. I see him, his best abilities are using his athleticism, using his ability to create space, using his quickness, and trying to get to the lane. I have not seen him also attack the lane much at all. He's not a guy that's consistently going to the line. He's going to the line about 3 times throughout his career per game, about 2.7 per game. He's going to the line, and even then, when he's going there, he's only shooting 70%.
Yeah.
So I think his biggest thing is that he needs to work on his handles, work on his ability to abuse pick and rolls, and then also get stronger. Because if he's able to do those things, he's going to attack the bucket more, he's going to draw contact more, and he's going to be able to finish stronger, and then also you're shooting one because you're going to the line for and ones. And I think his biggest thing that he needs to do is become just a better pick and roll player, just so he can add that next level to his that addition to his athleticism. Because like we were talking earlier, I have not seen anything that shows that next level player of him. I've never seen anything outside of an athlete in Dennis Smith Jr. And I don't know what that is. And I think the biggest thing for his body, his athleticism, would become to become a pick and roll abuser. So to get a high post, to get a high pick, try to attack the lane, try to maneuver, try to draw contact, and just consistently go to the line. And just play like James Harden, but just in a different way. Obviously, because he's not going to be shooting mid-rangers, he's not going to be shooting 17 threes in a game, but at least the driving style of a James Harden. Obviously, that's one of the best players in the league. You want to replicate him, but I think that's the way he would make his money, is at least early on in his career, using the pick and roll to his advantage, using that athleticism, trying to blow by people, or even like a young Derrick Rose. Because, D Rose was something that, again, next level athlete, he didn't have that ability right away to be a facilitator, but it was attacking the bucket, going hard, drawing contact, and then that obviously opened up everything else for the Bulls. So that's my personal opinion. I think they should trade him as soon as possible, get the most back for him. If you can get 2 young players like Josh Jackson and Eli Okubo, where's it hurting you? And that's my question. You
don't know if Ellie will ever be an NBA quality starter, and that's fair. He's a young kid. It's all potential right now. I liked what I saw. I think it would be worth taking a stab at. And Josh Jackson again. If he ever finds consistency, absolutely worth. But if he doesn't, he's a net negative on the court, and I don't know if you can keep playing him because you have guys like Dorian Finney-Smith who might outplay your number 4 overall pick.
That's fine, and I understand where you're coming from
it's
here.
a risk.
With the Okubo thing, is I also don't know if Dennis Smith is a starter and like a starter quality right now in the NBA. He has a higher potential than Okubo, 100%. But right now, I mean, where would you put Dennis Smith Jr. in the top 30 point guards?
I mean, it's a great thing we did a ranking of top 30 point guards going into the year.
But I think you now even after seeing this year,
do you think? I mean, Colin Sexton or him? Like, do you think that they're comparable at this point?
I would rather take Colin Sexton.
Really?
Because I think I've seen, and maybe it's just because he's on a worse team.
I was gonna say because the ball's in his hand, he doesn't have Kevin Love out there. I think if you interchange Colin Sexton for Dennis Smith Jr. on that Cavs team this year, be at the exact same place.
I think
to me, they're almost identical players, except I know Colin Sexton can play better defense.
That's one thing too, and I think it's more about his mentality, and I think that's one thing that separates him and Dennis Smith Jr. I've never seen Dennis Smith be as aggressive as Colin Sexton is.
Yeah.
The reason why I call him the young bull. He's gone to the line a little bit more, about 3 times per game, a little like 0.2 more than Dennis Smith Jr. But I think one thing that you do see is just his tenacity is up more because he has probably less athleticism, but he is aggressive. And that's one thing that De'Aaron Fox has shown, that he's extremely aggressive. And that's, I would say that Colin Sexton is more like a De'Aaron Fox than he is a Dennis Smith Jr. Because De'Aaron Fox has shown that aggressiveness and he's shown that ability to grow. And we see what De'Aaron Fox's jump was from year 1 to year 2, adding a shot, which is incredible.
We're so spoiled with young point guards.
Yeah, we didn't see that with Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah.
And the question is why? I don't think he's
gotten better at shooting,
less talented, but not to the level of De'Aaron Fox. Like
no,
De'Aaron Fox is
made
to
the jump,
a next level. But that jump you never expect from a player. So it's like there's nothing that I've seen so far that differentiates Dennis Smith from another athletic point guard. Like just a plain old athletic point guard. There's nothing next level to his game. He's gotten better in some ways, but he also hasn't improved too much to my eyes. That's my thoughts. Ricky, final thoughts.
Final thought is, you know who else could make a trade for Dennis Smith?
Who?
The Pistons.
Yeah, but who are they giving up?
Well, and that's the thing.
Because nobody's taking Reggie Jackson's ass.
Well, I've seen in the comment section some people throw out like Luke Kennard's name.
Kennard.
But like you can, like Dennis Smith for Kennard works out nice. Like it works out straight up because the thing that's nice with the Pistons is they have a Boban trade exception that is the exact amount that can be used for the exact amount of Dennis Smith's contract. So they can maybe out of the teams that we mentioned, they might be a team that can work a trade easier because of flexibility with not just players that Dallas wants, but money is too, like
but
contracts.
how does Luke Kennard help the Dallas Mavericks? I know he's a 2-guard who can shoot from the outside.
Isn't that what Sean mentioned? Somebody who can play off ball and doesn't need the ball in their hand.
But ideally, you still want a point. That's the thing with these.
And I mean, they do have on their roster, like if you want to go after an Ish Smith, you can, but that's not ideal.
What we'd rather do is get someone who could replace Harrison Barnes if he leaves from some stupid reason, or at least just to play with Luka later on, or to at least play that 1 guard position. Because I think getting another 2 guard, unless he's like an elite shooter, I don't see that.
I mean, you already have Wes Matthews being the overpriced, streaky shooter that he is, and you got him for this year, and then he's gone after, thankfully. But
I mean, Kennard Ellison, but is that too much for the Pistons to give up for Dennis Smith?
No.
Yeah, so you can go
Kennard,
Dennis Smith, you can go
Kennard Ellison, and those could be maybe 2 players the Mavs can use better, I want to say, just because with the whole coexisting thing we talked about than they could with Dennis Smith.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about Dennis Smith Jr.'s future with the Dallas Mavericks? Do you think it's going to be a bright one, that he's going to stick around in Dallas, or do you think it's going to be something that we dwell on a lot and that he's going to be traded? Let us know down in the comments below.